Good morning, Knicks Nation. Oh, good afternoon, Knicks Nation. Sorry. Today is Wednesday, the 19th day of July, 2023. I hope you're safe and healthy today, and I hope your family is safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family, in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health, are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, who, along with the first responders, are every day saving lives, and those that pick up garbage to keep places clean and disease-free, and those that make deliveries of important things like food and water and mail for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the children and teenagers that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the perverts, and the profiteers of these heinous things. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and mostly children in the streets of the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. I touched on it in yesterday's video, but I went deeper, and today I'm going to give you some stats. There are those people, to me, what's going on in Knicks Nation is the segment of Knicks Nation that really has some sort of mental issue is being brought to the fore in this Evan Fournier situation. And so, because it's really bringing out some of the, one of the reasons the Knicks have been bad for so long is Dolan was listening to the Knicks Nation and making stupid decisions based on Knicks Nation and media. He's left it now to the Don to run things on the basketball side of his business. The Don has done a tremendous job. And I'm glad he's left it to the Don, including the head coach, because nobody's listening to the fools anymore. They're doing this professionally to have the result of long-term sustainable winning. So what I did is I compared Evan Fournier's last full-time year as a starter, which was the year before this past, and Grimes' year this past year. And I want to go over, and I went through the 7 categories that I went through a couple days, weeks ago, whatever, that I was comparing the first 7 players in the Knicks rotation in terms of 7 categories. And I have the same categories. This is the games started, the record. And this is based on, again, the only thing that matters to us that really know basketball is winning. Okay? We're not talking about our favorite player. We're not talking about how high he jumps, how good he shoots. We're talking about the effect on winning. Now, if you're not into simply, and that's it, if you got any other agenda from winning, you're not going to like my channel or my comments, you probably should go somewhere else. I'm not dealing with the entertainment part. I'm not dealing with the rumors, the innuendo. I'm dealing with winning, because I've seen too many decades of losing. Okay? And so I know from what I'm seeing comparatively over the last 50 years, based on what we've had, I know what we got now, and I'm happy about what we got. Okay? I'm not complaining about it, not whining about it. I'm not using basketball, and some people do, and that's cool. Use it to take all your life's gripes out on whoever you want to take it out, whether it's Tibbs or Dolan or whoever. I'm glad the Knicks are winning. And I'm glad for the management they have, the coaches they have, and the players they have. I'm glad for how they have drafted, how they have developed. And I'm excited about going forward, what the Knicks look like going forward. As now we're in year 4, going into year 4 of this rebuild, starting with Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau and the whole crew. So I compared Grimes and Fournier in 7 categories. The record when games that they started. The record when they shot greater than 40% from 3. The record when they scored more than 20 points. The record when they scored more than 30 points. The record when they shot at least 80% from the free throw line. The record when they had 3 turnovers or less. The record when they had at least 5 rebounds. And the record when they missed a game. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories. And I want you to listen and compare as I compare the numbers for these two players. And this is good because they played the same position. Okay. In fact, Grimes replaced Fournier. So we're going to look at this. And Grimes was the guy Tibbs wanted. We talked about how if you're going to build a team, okay, and you're the president of basketball operations and a GM, you choose a coach. And you do not do what Phil Jackson did and choose a coach who is your puppet. You choose a coach that can help you win, that knows how to coach. And you structure the roster based on the preferences of your coach. And I mentioned Mike D'Antoni as a great example because Mike D'Antoni ran what they called at the time the speedball offense, 7 seconds or less, which means they were running and he needed a point guard as his centerpiece in what the style he was running. And the Knicks did not provide that for him for the most part in his tenure as a Knicks coach. I think he was coach 4 years. What they did instead is they brought him, when they gave him a glimpse of a point guard, that they had Ray Felton in his prime. And for half a season, if y'all remember, Felton was playing at an all-star level. And the Knicks were playing 500 ball, but getting better. The second half of that season, they had Lynn Sanity for a couple of years as the point guard. And listen, Jeremy Lin was never really any type of true rotation player in the NBA. But just to show you how effective the speed ball was, we got Lynn Sanity, one of the greatest 2 weeks plus in Knicks history, right? So when it was time to get a point guard, they traded everything to go get a small forward in Carmelo Anthony. Okay, Carmelo was a great player, but if you're going to have Mike D'Antoni as your coach, it would have been better to go get Deron Williams, who was just approaching his prime at the time, right? And they were trying to do that, but then James Dolan interfered and they got Carmelo Anthony. History, right? So you're going to get a coach. You want a coach that has a game. Like, in other words, this is his style. This is what he does. And if you're going to do that, you got to get a roster that fits the coach. I'm not even dealing with some of y'all that don't like Tibbs. We're not even talking about what you like and don't like. This is what Leon Rose chose as his coach. Tom Thibodeau's a tough, defensive-minded coach. He needs a rim protector at the center of his defense, which is defense-focused. And he needs available players, okay? He'd like to have some shooters, but the most important thing for him is defense. You need a rim protector at the 5 spot. You need to have some guys that are always available when you call them. That's Tibbs, with some other things, but that's him. So when the Knicks got and signed Evan Fournier, he did not fit the Tibbs mold, except this. He's available. He's always been an available player. Fournier, for the most part. Okay, one of the most available players in the NBA. But he was not a defensive player at all. Okay? And so that did not fit the mold. He was a shooter, and while Tibbs wants shooting, the focus is defense. Shooting comes after that. Okay? And if you look at Tibbs' overall head coaching record, he wins 57% of his games. He's only had 2 seasons where he wasn't winning at least 50% of his games as a head coach out of, I think, 11 seasons. So out of 11 seasons, he's had 2 losing seasons, one in Minnesota and one in New York with Evan Fournier. And the rest of them have been winning seasons, okay? In New York, that's pretty big. Some people don't appreciate that, but I do after seeing 17 win, 21 win, 19 win, 20 win seasons. To get somebody that wins, 90% of the time he's coaching, 85, 90% of the time he's coaching as far as seasons, that's what you want. So, they signed Evan Fournier. Tibbs, the following season, or that season actually, had them choose Quentin Grimes. Because Quentin Grimes fit the mold of a Tibbs player, plus he could shoot. So he's a high-level defender. From the 2-guard spot, at the time he played at University of Houston, he was one of the best rebounding guards in the nation. And he continues to do that in the pros. High-level defense, great rebounder from the 2-guard position, high-level playmaker, and he can shoot. So, Evan Fournier's last year as a full-time starter, he played 80 games. Grimes' first year as a full-time starter, he played 61 games. Grimes was 22 last year. Evan Fournier was in his prime, 29. Okay, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's the prime years for an NBA player. Okay, so he was 29. He's in prime. Grimes started 61 games. In the 61 games that Grimes started, the Knicks were 37-24. They won 61% of their games. Fournier started 80 games. In the 80 games that Fournier started, the Knicks were 36-44. They won 45% of their games. So when Grimes started, they won 61% of their games. When Fournier started, they won 45% of their games. So if you're interested in winning, what would you like? Next category. When Grimes shot more than 40% from three. See, that's a standard, right? So if somebody shoots 40% from three, you're talking about if somebody did 50, 40, 90, what you're saying is they shot 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 90% from the line. Considered a great shooter. So we're looking at that when they're at their best, 40% or better from 3 points. Grimes did this last year 31 times. They were 18-13. They won 58% of the games that he shot at least 40% from three, which is why I advocate him getting more involved in the offense, him getting more plays called for him getting more situations where he can make decisions to shoot or not. In other words, taking shots away from RJ, Randall, and Brunson and giving more to Grimes because of situations like this. But Fournier, when Fournier shot 40% or more, he did that 40 times when he started. The Knicks were 20-20. They played 500 ball. And let me just give you a spoiler alert. That was the best statistic he had as a starter. So they played 500 ball. So again, do you want your teams to be winning 58% of their games or 50% of their games? Because that's the difference between the play-in and top six. Okay? What happened when Grimes scored at least 20 points a game? When Grimes scored at least 20 points a game, he did that 10 times this past season. The Knicks were 6-4, won 60% of their games. When Fournier scored at least 20 points, the Knicks were 7-10. They won 46% of their games. So again, do you want to win 60% of your games or 40% of your games? When Grimes scored at least 30 points, the Knicks were 1-1, 50%. Not great, but not losing. When Fournier scored at least 30 points, which he did 5 times the year he started, the Knicks were 2-3. They won 40% of their games. So again, do you want to win 40% of your games or 50% of your games? When Grimes shot at least 80% from the free throw line, which he did 22 times, the Knicks were 12-10, won 55% of their games. When Fournier shot at least 80% from the line, which he did also 22 times, the Knicks were 7-15. They won 32% of those games. Do you want to win 32% of your games or do you want to win 55% of your games? Let's go to the turnovers. When Grimes had 3 turnovers or less, which he did 70 times, 70 times, 3 turnovers or less, the Knicks were 40-30. They won 57% of their games. When Fournier had 3 turnovers or less, which he did 79 times, the Knicks were 36-43. They won 46% of their games. Do you want to win 46% of your games or 57% of your games? when Grimes had at least 5 rebounds, which he did 42 times, the Knicks are 22-20, 52% of their games. When Fournier had at least 5 rebounds, which he only did 13 times, he's not a big rebounder, the Knicks were 6-7. They win 46% of their games. Do you want to win 52% of your games or 46% of your games? When Grimes missed games, he missed 11 games. The Knicks were 6-5. That was his worst stat. When Fournier missed games, the Knicks were 1-1, 50%. Okay? So, overall, who is the winning basketball player? I want to tell y'all, this is Fournier in his prime. He had just failed in his stint with Boston when the Knicks signed him. So did Kemba Walker. Okay? They both were failures in their stints with Boston. And the Knicks signed him. These were the 2 mistakes. To me, the only 2 major mistakes that Don made in his 3-year tenure was Fournier and Kemba Walker. And he quickly, Tibbs, I give Tibbs credit. Tibbs quickly fixed that situation. He just said straight out, I'm taking Kemba Walker out the rotation. There was all kind of howls from Knicks Nation. And how you gonna sit him? We needed scoring. We won more without him. Last year, after the Dallas loss, he took Fournier out of the rotation. We won more without him. Grimes at age 22. Not yet. He's about 4 or 5 years from his prime. Is already a better basketball player than Fournier in his prime. It's a 9-man rotation. 9-man rotation. So you got Grimes, Brunson, RJ, Mitchell Robinson, and Orlando in your starting lineup. Your bench was Hartenstein last year, Hart, Emmanuel Quickly. Okay? Sometimes you had IQ. Not IQ, but sometimes you had Deuce, but mostly it was IQ. That's your nomination. Where the hell are you going to play Fournier at? And for what? So all these people talking about we needed shooting and didn't get it, please understand, you don't know what you're talking about. Fournier needed to be sat. Not only that, Quentin Grimes this year is making about, let me just say, Quentin Grimes, I'm going to tell you right now. I didn't even look this up before, but let me tell you. Quentin Grimes is being paid this year $2.4 million. $2.4 million. Fournier is being paid this year almost $19 million. Who's the better value here? So when I ignore some of y'all that Fournier apologists, I want you to look at this video and understand why. How ridiculous that sounds. Okay? How ridiculous that sounds. There is no comparison between these 2 players. Grimes is the way better basketball player. Imagine him when he's 28, 27, 26. He's only 22. He just turned 23. And he's already a better basketball player than Evan Fournier in his prime. Evan Fournier is getting $19 million. He should take his $19 million, keep his mouth shut, and wait for the Don to make a move to get rid of him. That's what he needs to do. He has no cause, 0, to complain about anything. The Knicks are better without him. And the Don not going to just let $19 million just buy him out. No, he's going to get something for that $19 million. If he ain't get performance on the court, obviously, he needs to get something. So they're going to get something for him. Include him in the deal or something. But I don't want to hear about, I ain't got no cheese for his wine. Take your $19 million, shut your mouth, and be quiet. And be happy. Go spend your money in Paris somewhere. Y'all have a good Wednesday. Shalom.